Welcome to another Workshop Wednesdays. This is Happy New Year 2024. First webinar of the new year. KG, how are you?
Unmute. Yeah. Doing good, man. Doing good. Rested. Thank you.
Hopefully you had a good holiday. Are you physically in Canada, or
Yeah.
are you somewhere located elsewhere?
No. I am just north of Toronto, maybe like an hour and a bit.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we took a little holiday hiatus, and here we are in the first one of 2024. And what we were hoping to do was have a side-by-side comparison of QuickBooks Point of Sale and Lightspeed Point of Sale. And lo and behold, I forgot that I'm driving today. So I'm in the business center of the hotel that we were staying at overnight last night, somewhere in Georgia. And I forgot my Windows machine so that I could have this side-by-side comparison. So we're going to talk through some of the some of the things, and actually what we were hoping to do, or hoping to get, is some input from those of you that are watching, either watching this now or watching later. What would make a good resource for you? Because ultimately, what we're trying to do here is, because there is the the discontinuation of QuickBooks Point of Sale, sad but true. And those people that are looking for a replacement, we would hope that Lightspeed is on the list of things to check out. But for those people that are working, migrating from QuickBooks Point of Sale to Lightspeed, what would make sense to see as a resource, right? Would it be, okay, these are the articles, or these are the video tutorials that you do these things inside of QuickBooks Point of Sale, and side by side with, this is how you do them in Lightspeed Point of Sale. So that would make it easy for, okay, well, I do a sale, or I do a physical inventory, or those types of things. This is how I do these things inside of QuickBooks Point of Sale, and then these are how I would do the same things inside of Lightspeed Point of Sale. So that way we don't necessarily have to have a whole, reinventing the wheel, right? Because these wheels already exist out there, and we could maybe compile these things. So, put in the comments, what would make sense to you, because that's what I'm hoping to solve for, is the people that are migrating, or shifting to Lightspeed Point of Sale from QuickBooks Point of Sale, that want to know, okay, well, I did these things this way inside of QuickBooks Point of Sale. How do I do these things inside of Point of Sale for Lightspeed, right? And there's Susan watching from Florida, sunny Florida. I'll be there today. But okay, so KG, so this is our part 2, right? And we talked about what just in general, the differences between QuickBooks Point of Sale and Lightspeed Point of Sale, whereas this is QuickBooks Point of Sale is a desktop software. You have to download, install, set up a network in order for them to see, whereas QuickBooks Point of Sale, or sorry, Lightspeed Point of Sale is not. You just log in and it's there. One thing I wanted to ask you, to KG, to make sure that people understand. One of the things that I really like about Lightspeed is it's all in one platform, right? So um, with QuickBooks Point of Sale, there's a basic, there's a pro, and then there's a pro multi-store. And talk a little bit about the different levels of the flagship Lightspeed X series product.
Yeah, for sure. So in our case, what we do is we do have different plans depending on the industry that they're in or depending on their level of complexity. So we do have right now three different plans. There is technically a fourth for enterprise level businesses. So if there's what we consider five or more locations is what we call enterprise. But again, it really depends on where they're pivoting from or how far they want to go. So we do kind of have I guess four different what we call modules that might take a product from a basic, point of sale with some reporting to a point of sale with reporting and e-commerce and loyalty and accounting integrations, right? So there is different levels of it. We could probably send out maybe the pricing plans that gives you the breakdowns a
Yeah.
little bit later, but um, yeah, we can start from brand new businesses just looking to start up that are analytically driven. We provide them with what they need and then go from there to scale into our three or four different plans.
Yeah, so like the big difference between like QuickBooks Point of Sale was a basic, and then Pro. Pro had those features where it was the loyalty, the rewards program, sales orders or customer orders was a feature in there. But if you had more than one location, you had to be on multi-store, right?
Mhm.
Because that was it. Now with with your with Lightspeed's plans, is
Mhm.
does that once there is more than one location, does that put them into a particular level of QuickBooks, or I'm sorry, Lightspeed?
No worries. Not necessarily, no. And again, it is going to be tailored. Even if you have a very basic platform or basic system that we choose. So if you chose our lean plan, for example, but you still wanted the advanced reporting that's only available on our most advanced plan, you can purchase things like that a la carte, right? So you can
Ah,
again start off with the smallest plan, but just add in that one feature. So that way, again, you could use that to pivot on the business. But when it comes to multi locations, you could choose any one of the plans. Of course, there are benefits to having a multi-location with our more advanced plan because again the more analytics you'll unlock at that point, but you could have two three multiple locations on the lean plan and still have enough to run the business.
so you have like a menu of
Mhm.
this is what you need,
Mhm.
um, and a retailer can kind of pick and choose what suits them best.
Exactly.
So if they don't need the heavy feature set, but they
Mhm.
have more than one location, they could feasibly have the lean plan with multiple locations. Is there a limit to the number of locations? Because the
Mhm.
QuickBooks Point of Sale, it was 20. You could
Mhm.
only have 20 workstations and 20 locations. That was the big limit.
No, there is no limit. No, we've worked with multi-location businesses alone on the platform with Lightspeed. But again, I think of what we mentioned on the last one was we have a very large integration pool, and we have partners that can help with franchises as well, which I've personally worked with myself. So, um, understanding that we do have the ability to um, have multi-location unlimited amounts on just Lightspeed. But if they wanted a franchise approach where only the owners can see everything, but the general managers, for example, could only see their specific locations, then we can go that route as well.
Yeah, and it looks like um, uh, Susan just informed us that we're not showing up on Facebook, and I do see that it was unable to connect for some reason when we tried to stream out. So if you're watching on our website or YouTube, I see there is actually one person on Twitch that that is
Nice.
watching this as well. So we are we are streaming on Twitch as well. So we'll have to replay this or post the replay on Facebook, since the streaming tool that we're using decided to not work.
Yeah.
um, Anywho, so um, so you could and I'm sorry I missed your answer because
It's
I
all
was
right.
distracted by the Facebook,
Yeah.
but you can really just there isn't a limit, or
No.
is there a better than others option, when because you were talking about an enterprise
Mhm.
option for if you have more than five stores earlier.
Yeah, yeah. So there is no limit, right? Either way, whichever plan you choose, there is no limit to how many businesses. Of course, it'll depend on the plan. In our experience, as soon as you have multiple locations, typically that business will bring in things like more integrations, which happens all the
Mhm.
time. Which again, we have lots of options for that. So
Yeah.
a
So,
lot of solutions.
um, and you can kind of mix and match with the different locations as well, right? So you could have a lean store and a more advanced store if they needed to, or do they all have to be on the same
No, no,
flavor of?
it is, yeah, it is the same flavor. So if they have multiple locations, they do have to follow the suit with the same plans.
Okay.
Um, but from my understanding, if in my experience, again, any multi-location business, they kind of want to have that uniform across
Yeah.
multiple locations, so it keeps it
Makes
real simple
sense
for
to
the
be
yeah,
have the same functions, right? Like you
yeah,
wouldn't want to go to one store and
mhm,
say, "Oh, we can't
mhm.
put that on layaway or the lay-by or the,"
Yeah, and
because we
it's
don't have
more
that option.
for yeah, it's more if anything for the end user, like the employees. Like sometimes what some SMBs will do is they'll have an employee work at one location, but realize maybe they're short staffed at another, and be like, hey, can you just go log in over there? The last thing you want is that confusion of two different platforms. This one is more like it's the same here as it was there, so makes it a little bit easier for
Got it.
staff.
So with when you have a QuickBooks, QuickBooks Financial as your accounting system, and then you have a point of sale system, there's typically a division of duties or a division of workflows that a retailer would be doing. And the way I used to describe it to folks is that anything that's day to day is going to be handled inside of your point of sale system. So anything that's going to um, cause your inventory levels to go up or down, right? That would be handled inside of your point of sale system. Is
Correct.
that the same for Lightspeed?
Exactly. Correct. Day to day,
Yeah,
money in, money out, or money in anyway, comes in through the point of sale. Inventory changes, customer data, all of that will
yeah.
start in the point of sale.
So in the grand scheme of things, your sales, your purchases, and your inventory management is going to be handled inside of your point of sale system. Now, when you are dealing um, with those divisions of duties,
Mhm.
right? So you're going to have some things that you're going to be doing solely inside of a QuickBooks Point of Sale, or in this case, Lightspeed, and part of that another big difference um, between QuickBooks Point of Sale and Lightspeed is the price, right?
Yep.
So in the past, and this was one of the last versions of Intuit desktop software that you could just buy, right?
Yep.
And you needed to buy outright. So there was a barrier to cost when it came to not enjoying, but
Mhm.
implementing your point of sale system. I mean, it's a big um, you know cost up front, right?
Yeah.
Because especially if you're in multiple stores, you have to be in, every version has to be in the multi-location. And so I believe it was $1,900 or something like
Mhm.
that for
Mhm.
one user license. And then
Mhm.
you got a small token discount for the additional seats. So every
Mhm.
register had to have its own license. Now, point of sale had this thing called a floating license, meaning that if you had it installed on all, you had five workstations. You could buy a three-user license and install it
Mhm.
on five workstations in the store, and
Mhm.
any one of those five would be able to log in to and be a register at that point. But if they needed all five, they would have to have a five seat, right? They would have to have five user license. So the first one would
Mhm.
be, the $1,900, and then the next one, each additional one would be $1,700. What would be How does that work for
Mhm.
in Lightspeed when it comes to additional registers,
Mhm.
and is there like a floating license similar
Yeah.
to that?
Um, so in our case, the way we bill is per location and per register. We don't charge things for like users. So a register is your sales screen, so the ability to sell in front of a person. The location is where you house inventory. So if you have two locations, this location A has 10 of something and this location has 5 of something. So you have two separate inventories. And then any additional register, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is $59 per month, and I think it's $49 annually. So 49 times 12.
Oh, okay. So if you did the annual, then it would work out to
Yeah,
be
yeah, I think it's like 10% less or something, if my
got
math is off. But
it.
uh,
Talk to your
yes,
sales agent.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So in this case, we do make sure that it's just location and registers. We don't charge for anything else from there. So um, one of the cool things is that you could have unlimited users on the platform at once. So again,
Mhm.
someone up at the front selling, even if you're a single location business with one register, one person selling, but you could have you in the back creating a new product, someone else doing reporting, and then someone else doing an inventory count all at the same time on the back office. So back office is unlimited. Front
Okay,
office is where we, I guess, limit it, mainly
got it.
because of the attachment to the payment processor.
Gotcha. So you could actually have multiple people doing stuff in the back
Mhm.
for inventory, receiving, and those types of things. But then just for just additional registers
Yeah,
would be that sales screen, like you said. There's just
yeah,
ringing up sales, which would be typical for a
yeah.
cashier or associate.
And
Okay.
it's a little bit, yeah,
Uh,
it's a little bit more modernized in the sense that you can have, for example, an iPad as your cash register, but you could be in the back running it, doing other things on your phone, someone else doing it on a desktop, at home, doesn't matter. Everything else on the back is cross-platform. So PC, Mac, iPad, phones, as long as you have access to the internet, you can access the back office.
Great. Now, now let's talk a little bit about the, kind of like the setup and the back office features
Mhm.
that you can do inside of the point of sale system. So, inventory creation,
Mhm.
um, that sort of thing. Is there a like a bulk import that you can do with regards to creating items, or is there you just one at a time?
No, correct. So you have both options. So normally, brand new to Lightspeed, it is in bulk. So you can take a product file, CSV or Excel, manipulate it to either just upload in bulk or manipulate it to our fields and just upload in bulk. So that's the simplest and fastest way. Um, and then from there, the other option is to do it individually through the user interface. It's a very simple, very straightforward user interface. Um, but those are typically reserved for maybe if businesses add new product every so often, right? So every month, season, whatever it may be, it is a little bit less tedious to do it through the user interface. But again, if they're proficient at things like Excel or CSV and they want to do it externally, by all means, you do it both ways.
With QuickBooks Point of Sale, it had a data import wizard where
Mhm.
you could do customers, vendors, and inventory items um, at in bulk. There was a template that you could start with,
Mhm.
or you could bring in your own Excel and map it
Exactly.
accordingly. Um, with regards to importing, is it how hard is it for the layman
Mhm.
to
Yeah.
do, or are you talking to a this is a support issue, or maybe I want to
Mhm.
do like an implementation service
Mhm.
that you might offer about getting that? Like, can I just hand it to someone at Lightspeed to
Yeah.
import my item?
It is a bit of a yes and a no. So in this case, we do have our onboarding team that could assist you in this. But at the end of the day, the actual physical upload will, of course, fall on the owner of the business. But we train them on how to do it. Um, if you were someone who's not too tech proficient or anything like that, coming from my experience, I never used Excel before working here. So when I came into the role, I found it a little bit tedious, to be honest, when it comes to uploading product through Excel. So I was using the user interface a little bit more. But that being said, it made things significantly faster. So again, if you even have a little bit of experience with Excel or CSV, I would say it doesn't take long to learn. It's a matter of just matching up a few lines and uploading it, testing it, and you're off to the races. But again,
Yeah.
worst case scenario, within the actual app itself, there's need help, you click on it, there's a nice video right there showing you exactly how to do it step by step. So
Now, QuickBooks Point of Sale has a function called Price Manager, and I used to call it Price Mangler.
Mhm.
because because if you didn't know what you were doing, you could really mess up all of your prices.
Mm.
But it was actually really robust, and it was a really neat tool where I remember a call where an individual was playing with the price manager, and that's why I started to call it the price mangler. And he had taken all of his prices and copied his cost into into
Mhm.
the price. So basically, he was selling everything at cost when he tried, and then that's what started the phone call was, "Hey, I'm not making any money on these things because my cost is in there." I'm like, "What'd you do?" And it allowed you to use some apply some math and say, "Hey, um, whatever my cost is, if I want to, you know, apply a coefficient to my cost, I could do that." And
Mhm.
then I could assign, and also there was a concept of price levels, right? So you can have a sale price, right,
Mhm.
or a wholesale price, and then you could have the regular price. So you have MSRP, you could have a wholesale, and you have a sale price, a 10% discount, whatever it is that you wanted
Mhm.
to do, and you could set the price manager could say, "Hey, copy this, minus it 10%, and put it in this price
Mhm.
level." Do those concepts exist in Lightspeed? Is it what
Mhm.
level is that? And just do you have something like that to be
Mhm.
able to manage bulk prices or update your pricing sheet?
Yeah, so there's two ways we can manage this. Well, first, when you create the product, it'll always give you the option for your supply price and your retail price. Those are two separate fields. So I don't think there should be any issue of like that kind of replacing it. But then from there, we have two options to be able to do things like bulk sales, wholesale, or whatever it may be. So you have the promotions on our backend, which is extremely intuitive, very easy to use. I think what's one of our if in my opinion, one of our top 5 features within the platform is being able to create very intuitive promotions that you can say, if this, then that. It could be as complex as possible or as simple as possible. The other
Mhm.
option is price books. So you can create an unlimited amount of price books and say that all my products are available to everyone who is in my wholesale group, and they have to buy a minimum of X amount to reach this price. So as soon as that book is in there, as soon as it's created, all you have to do is add the customer to the sale. And if they're in that specific group, like wholesale, for example, then it'll automate all promotions associated to that group. So it can be, again, as complex or as simple as you'd like. But short answer is yes, we can have multiple tiered prices for all products.
And then with your discounts, you mentioned a little bit. There was a function, um, you know, um, X for Y pricing,
Mhm.
which was buy two get for $5 or
Mhm.
something like that. Is that a function or feature in Lightspeed as well?
Yes, and that's available on all plans. So buy 10 of this, get that for 10% off. You can set a promotion to be spend $100 and you get this as a gift. And again, on top of that simplicity, it also prompts the staff again. So no one has to memorize any promotions. It'll always just prompt to be like, hey, there's a promotion here, and it helps move product significantly
Now
faster.
we're we're sneaking into sales, but
Yeah,
so what we wanted to stick on was
yeah,
the
yeah,
back office status
yeah,
of
yeah.
so like physical counts, right?
Mhm.
So physical counting of your inventory,
Mhm.
that's definitely a back office, and
Yes.
probably that's why a lot of people aren't watching
Mhm.
today because they're counting their inventory,
Most
right? They
likely
shut
beginning of
down.
the year.
Yeah, it's on January or on New Year's Eve. They close the shop,
Yep.
count the inventory, and do the physical counts.
Yep.
So there were two adjustments when it came to QuickBooks Point of Sale, a cost adjustment where oops, I made I didn't enter the right weighted average cost, and I need to
Mhm.
adjust the cost of that. And then there was a quantity adjustment where physical
Mhm.
inventories were that,
Mhm.
or um, oops, it broke, right, and then I
Mhm.
needed to fell off the shelf, or the five finger discount, right, which
Yeah, five
happens
finger
quite a
discount.
bit, right? Shrinkage, as the term would be.
Yeah.
Um, what kind of inventory adjustments can you make in
Mhm.
Lightspeed?
So there's a few ways we can do this. So one is just simply finding that product in back office, and there's an inventory adjustment button you would click on, and it would give you options to drop down. It's like, why are you deducting this product from inventory? Is it damage, theft, store use, whatever it may be? But then, of course, it turns that product into a negative, right? So it's a net loss at that point.
Right.
The other option we can do is mask things like inventory counts. And I always recommend this to anyone who can, is to download the Lightspeed Scanner app. It's an app that you can use on your phone, an iPad, Android, and Apple, where you can use the camera on your phone to do mass inventory counts or even small inventory counts. And again, coming from my retail experience, when I used to do inventory counts, um, yeah, we would shut down the store for a night, overnight, just stay in there and just start scanning one at a time. And we would have to wait until the next day to print out everything, then go
Oof.
back and physically count everything one by one again.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
so in this case, what makes it really intuitive is again is you could have all your employees scanning all the products, let's say in one aisle if you wanted to, just to focus on one aisle or one brand or one supplier, whatever you may
Mhm.
be. Scan it all. It'll send you a live report showing you exactly how much you've lost or gained depending on the count. If it's off by a few bucks, most businesses are like, you know what, write it off.
Yeah.
It's fine. But if it's
Yeah.
off by a few thousand, then you look at that product and say, okay, something's wrong here. Let's go looking, kind of thing. So it makes it significantly easier to be able to do this
Right.
mobily and not having to be attached to something clunky or a big computer.
Yeah. QuickBooks Point of Sale had a physical inventory scanner, or
Hmm.
they used to call it a Pt2, which was a
Hmm.
physical data terminal or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, but it was more on the lines of a like a Nokia phone, right? Like
yeah,
the indestructible
yeah, yeah.
Nokia phones. That kind of size of the device where you could take this device and go around and scan and count,
Hmm.
and then you take it back to your point of sale system and put it in a cradle, and then it would upload all of those scans,
Hmm.
and then it would allow you not to or you wouldn't have to shut down the whole store. You could feasibly take okay, we'll block off this area of the
Hmm.
retail store and do that physical count,
Yeah.
put it in the cradle, and then maximize that sort of thing. Yours is included, right?
Hmm.
But this was like $400 or $500
Hmm.
per device.
Yeah.
Now, I had a client who was they did beauty products and hair,
Hmm.
so they had their inventory list was massive,
Yeah.
right? So when I showed him these things, he's like, "Oh my god, how many of these can I get?" so so
Yeah.
he had like three of these terminals. He's like, "These are great." You can go
Yeah.
around and count shelves or areas of the stock supply without having to shut down the whole store,
Yeah.
because there's nothing worse than you count something and then somebody sells it, right?
Yeah. Buys it right under
Uh,
your that my full-time job, and again that happened 2, 3 times a day. Yeah.
it's like, put that back, right?
Yeah.
Because especially if you had to wait a whole day and then
Hmm.
print out and then go count it again, I'm
Yeah.
sure there was always a discrepancy.
Yeah.
But
Well,
yours,
if I could, if I could
go ahead.
add to it, if anything, because if you are taking advantage of that feature with QuickBooks, it's nearly identical. Biggest difference is here is that you don't have to pay for the app
Yeah,
or any additional hardware, and then on top of that, you don't have to go back and dock it. It's live,
right.
right?
As
So
soon as you
straight
scan
from
it,
the phone,
it's
straight to the report. Yeah. So me as an owner, I can, if I'm having a sit down day, let my staff count. I can sit back and literally just watch the computer as it updates live. So
yeah,
it's really intuitive, really cool.
good, good, good. All right. So, as far as like receiving
Mhm.
and ordering merchandise, there was a purchase order option, and then receiving vouchers was the
Mhm.
terminology of what QuickBooks Point of Sale would classify them as. What
Mhm.
are those similar functions inside of Lightspeed? Any flavors that have one over the other, or maybe you don't have purchase orders in one, or is it
Mhm.
all along the
Yeah. So that's
all universal?
That's another feature that is available on all plans, which is to be able to purchase, receive, return inventory based off of purchase orders or stocks. All of that is included on all of the plans. So you can create a purchase order within the platform itself and email it to whoever needs to see it, your supplier, for example. Um, but if you do it externally, you can also just create it based off of an export from your external supplier. So if you can export from into a CSV or Excel, then import it here, just so the system keeps track of it. Again, the goal here is that you have one place that tracks all of your inventory. So you can just straight up receive inventory without creating a purchase order within the system. So you can just receive and it'll manage it for you the same way as creating the purchase order internally. But we do cover all those options on all plans.
Got it. Now, here's a big one that probably has a huge difference between
Mhm.
QuickBooks Point of Sale and Lightspeed. So I'm setting you up, and I don't know the answer. So I'm hoping I'm
No
hoping
worries.
I'm not going to
I
be
hope I I hope I know the
disappointed
answer.
by you. So QuickBooks Point of Sale, when it came to multiple locations,
Mhm.
had this concept of headquarters
Mhm.
and remote, right?
Okay.
Where and there were certain functions that could only be done at the headquarters,
Okay.
and there were limited transaction. Because the whole the concept was like, okay, I've got my main store that I'm receiving or doing my purchasing, and maybe
Mhm.
I've got a kiosk, right? Where at the mall where I've got a small thing where they're just going to be focused on you know putting stuff out and selling it
Mhm.
and reporting that back. Does Lightspeed have any limitations on the things that you can do at those multiple or the remote stores or the
Mhm.
other locations at those stores?
Yeah. No, great question. So as an admin, not at all. As an admin, I could log into any point of sale, any register, any location, anywhere, anytime. So no limitations from the admin's perspective. And again, I could run my whole business from my phone if I wanted. That being said, depending on your level of permission, again, there's three levels that we have natively. So admin, no limitations, managers, and cashiers. For each one of those managers or cashiers, I can say you could only log into location A, right? And then from the cashier, same thing. You're only allowed to log into location A. From there, then I can set different user permissions on what they can see and do within the platform itself. So even if they went to another location and they logged in, it would just bring them to the other location, but wouldn't allow them to do anything, right? So,
Like one of the big
mm,
limitations was
mm,
the remote store could
mm,
not create a purchase order
mm,
for itself.
yeah, yeah,
So basically, the headquarters had to do all the purchasing,
yeah,
all the receiving, all the ordering
yeah,
at the headquarters. And then on top of
mm,
all of that, in order for the headquarters and the remote store to be synchronized,
mm,
they had to do this thing called a store exchange, which
mm,
was they had to send a file from the
mm,
headquarters to the remote, they had to process that in, and then
mm,
they had to send a file from the remote to the headquarters and process that in. So it was like it was
nice cycle.
a game of telephone, right? Where
Yeah,
you like the headquarters is talking to the remote's talking to the headquarters, and hopefully they have the same thing to say,
yeah,
right? Not
yeah,
always did they have said same things
mm,
because there was like something didn't synchronize.
yeah,
I would assume that Lightspeed has none of that because it's
correct.
all in the cloud, right?
Yeah. So in this case, we don't tie it to the location, we tie it to the user. So again, that admin can log in anywhere. And if they just happen to be closer to one location than the other, they can just log in and create that purchase order there. But again, they can create that purchase order at location A for location B. Some of the multi-location businesses, some of them might have a warehouse where they only order there, and then they'll have a warehouse manager who will distribute accordingly, and you can transfer between locations within one platform. So again, less human error, less having communicate with multiple people to see what's what. It's more just use the analytics you have to receive the purchase orders and say, all right, 10 of these are going to location A because it's more popular there. 5 of these are going to location B, so on and so forth. So you have multiple options to manage all that. But again, it is based off of the user, not the location.
Yeah, they this same client that I'm referring to, they they wanted to get everything on the latest version and do a multi-store, but it was
Mm.
so limiting that because they had to like send either the transactions or things that they couldn't do at the other store that they should
Yeah.
have been able to do because they were a quote unquote remote store.
Yeah.
Um, they had to abandon that, and then they just kind of because the whole idea, right, of having a multiple location or multi-store situation is if you're out of something, somebody is, hey, I want to buy this. Oh, we don't have it on the shelf. They could look it up and see the inventory level at the other location and go,
Yep.
yep, it's there. We'll put it on hold, and you can go pick it up over there, or they'll ship it to you, or something, right?
Mhm.
Um, this is a non-issue, right? Because with Lightspeed, because you would be able to see active inventory levels, assuming that
Mhm.
user has the rights to see that,
Yeah. Exactly.
right?
That's one of those things that every user will typically have, regardless of permission. Mainly because I hate to go back to the sales screen, but in that sales screen, if let's say I scan a product and customer says I only saw one of these on the shelf. Do you have any more? Me as a cashier, I can click on my inventory info and it'll show me 0 at my main location, for example, or 1, and then at my other locations, it shows me live how much the other ones have. So in some cases it's prudent that all members of the staff understand certain things, but then other things you don't really need to know. Like I don't need my cashiers to see my net revenue reporting, so I could say they can't see reporting specifically, right? So
Now,
yeah.
one thing that QuickBooks Point of Sale I think has the edge over
Hmm.
over Lightspeed is user security and permissions.
Hmm.
You could get really granular with the options that you can do inside of for anyone, right? Like you could create custom roles where
Hmm.
one if one user, which you didn't have a limit to the number of users, like if you had
Yeah.
14 cashiers, you didn't have to have a seat user license for those 14. But if you had a part-time person, especially with the holidays, you could have temporary help and that sort of thing, and you could get to um, so granular that like this person couldn't print a held
Mm.
receipt, like one
uh,
specific task that you didn't want to have that kind of user do. What kind of user securities? Because you mentioned admin, manager, and associate. Talk a little bit about that and what's on the horizon, if there is anything for that sort of thing.
yeah, so one of the ones that we have for now is a two-factor authentication. That's one just for logging in for employees and staff. But when it comes to um, that level of granular settings, yeah, they definitely have the leg up on us on that one for sure. Um, there is
But that's
we
no
d- we
reason to stay in a discontinued product.
yeah, not a reason, not for sure. But what I would say is that it's once you reach the level of enterprise level business, we do have custom user roles available for. Again, you can create, for example, on a regular single store location, you'll have cashier manager admin, but at a enterprise level, you could have cashier A, cashier B, cashier C, right? So that way you can actually change the permissions per user as opposed to the umbrella of all users.
Yeah,
Um, but when it comes to the individual settings, yeah, for sure, there are some things that we just aren't able to do. For example, not yet, anyway.
right. Typically, you would, the manager is going to have, the override
Hmm.
capacities of a sales associate that,
Hmm.
you know, anytime you go to the grocery store or something, oh, I scanned this twice. I got to call
Hmm.
somebody over
Hmm.
to void this transaction or void
Exactly.
something off, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
So your general ideas of what it is, but the granular level of like, hey, I don't want this person to override a check
Hmm.
or take checks or something like that.
Yeah.
Those types of things, especially when it comes to employee fraud,
Yeah.
which does
Exactly.
happen.
100%.
Because then you'll be doing a physical inventory count, and then
Yeah.
see, we're trying to
Yeah.
tie all this all together.
Yeah. Yeah. It all comes back full circle. Inventories.
Right. So, um, So what we're going to be doing next, so it's not going to be next week. It's going to be we're going to take another couple weeks off here to join them with KG again. So we'll talk a little bit about the sales, the front office side of things, the tasks that you can do, and those types of things. So we appreciate you joining us. Who knows where I'll be then? We'll see. Thank you, KG, for joining us. Appreciate you making it happen today,
No worries.
and we'll see you next time on the Workshop Wednesday.
Thanks for having me. Take care.
Bye.